Good morning, everybody. Good morning. If you guys could find your seat, can you hear me all right? Yep. Want to get started. I'm impressed. Usually at this time, everyone's rolling in. There's already a lot of people here. So again, I'm glad we've done this training before. This is my favorite training. And really what we want to do here in this training is give you guys actionable items that you can take and use in your business right away. First, I want to ask a few questions. Who here wants more listings? All right. My next question, who here is committed to get more listings? All right, very similar questions, very different meetings. Wanting something and committing to something is two totally different things. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Right? So what I'm going to do is kind of walk through a little bit of what you can do that you can implement right away. But if you leave here, today is not going to get you more listings. Period. It's not. What you do when you leave here with the information we're going to go over is what is going to give you listings. So at the end, we are going to give some free stuff away that you're going to be able to use to help build your listing business. In this market, are listings easier or harder? They're a lot harder. How is inventory right now? Okay, so what does that mean when inventory is low? There are more and more agents going after the same listing. So our inventory is low. Are there more agents in the market right now or less agents in the market? More. I went to the Circle of Excellence luncheon for Middlesex County. There was 350 agents. It was the largest attendant Circle of Excellence in years. I went to the RE/MAX convention in February. It was the highest attended R4 they've had since 2006. I made a joke. Does that mean in 2 years that the market's going to burst? But there's more agents now. So what's happening when there's more agents getting into the market? A client that you might have his brother, sister's aunt's uncle is now a realtor who can get that referral. So sharpening your skills now is more important than ever on how to build your listing inventory. And we're going to go over 5 different strategies today. But what I really, really want to stress to you is you don't have to do all 5. You need to pick one strategy or 2 strategies that you're most comfortable with, and you need to double down on it. In high school, I wrestled. I was okay at 10 moves. My really good friend, you could not stop 2 of his moves. He was a state champion, and he went on to be an All-American in college. I ended up being a college wrestling dropout. Right? But I was okay at 10 moves, but he dominated 2 moves. You could not stop his 2 moves. So when you're looking at building your business, do you want to be the person that dominates the 2 moves, or do you want to be the person that you're okay at 10 moves? There's real estate coaches out there who say you need 17 to 24 different lead gen strategies and funnels. You know what I say about that person? That person probably never sold real estate. There's a lot of coaches out there right now who have not sold real estate at a high level. Right? It sounds really good when you're standing up on stage saying it, but when you're in the field doing it, it's a whole different story. So again, if you take anything out of here, just take 1 or 2 strategies that you can really implement into your business. And prospecting is a commitment. It's not a want. So things we're going to learn about today is we're going to learn the 3 C's you need to become a great listing agent. 1 is consistency, right? This is what I talk about with committing. If you want to lose weight, you can't go to the gym once and eat grilled chicken once and say it didn't work. But when you eat grilled chicken consistently and you go to the gym consistently, it will typically work. Same thing with your prospecting, same thing with your real estate business. Who's been around that agent where you see him do 3 deals, they go on vacation, they disappear, they come back, do another 1 or 2, they're not consistent. Your top producers are the ones that are consistently working, consistently prospecting. Who here will say it's been around the spring market, when you get really, really busy, you put a lot of things under contract and you don't become a realtor, you're a firefighter. Because you're going around putting out the fires of these deals to get them closed. And then once the deal's closed, you go, oh my gosh, I have nothing. My pipeline is depleted. And why is your pipeline depleted? You spend all your time and energy on getting these deals closed that you weren't prospecting consistently to get more deals. And guys, this isn't a judgment. This is just a fact of my observation of watching hundreds of realtors and the habits that they have. From me being an agent, from me being a broker. So you need confidence. If you walk into a listing appointment and you're not confident, who can tell? The seller. I've walked in, I remember the first listing appointment I went into, I was shaking in my boots. And the guy, I was 25 years old, and the guy looked at me and goes, have you ever bought a house? How can you sell my house? I'm like, I pay my parents' rent. Do you think I got that listing? Right? You have to be confident when you're with the seller. So, next month, we are going to be doing a training called the Ultimate Listing Presentation. The more confident you are in your listing presentation, suddenly you will get more listing leads. Because a lot of people, I've heard this from agents. Oh, well, if I get in the door, I nail the appointment. All right. Oh, how would your listing appointment go? Oh, they're still deciding. I'm thinking, I thought you nail it every time you walk in. Right? If your listing presentation is not perfected, it's going to hurt your listing lead generation and your overall production. We had an agent we worked with, he joined his closing ratio on listing appointments was 25%. Within a matter of a year, we've increased it to 30%. That's not good, to 75%. Right, platinum producer, and he'll tell you that we redid his listing presentation and it changed his business. So that's gonna be next week. We usually do these on Wednesdays, but it's Passover, so we're gonna be doing it the next day on Thursday. In the second week of April. You need to be clear. You have to have clarity in this business. All right? We're going to go into this a little bit more and everything, but you can't specialize in everything. You have to know what you want in this business, and you have to be clear on it. It was very clear to me 1 month into this business, I was not a buyer's agent. I was terrible at showing homes. I would walk in and be like, it's the kitchen. Is this, what type of material is this countertop? I'm like, it's countertop material. I am not cut out to work with buyers. And listen, there's nothing wrong with it, but I was very clear and specific what I wanted in my business, and I doubled down on it, and I became a force in a certain niche, and that was fine with me because that's what I wanted. So those are the 3 C's that you really need to be a great listing agent. And I think one of the most important ones is that true confidence. If you're not confident going into that listing appointment, there is no chance you're going to get it. Right? So we're going to talk about how to set up and put your listing leads on autopilot today. More importantly, these are things we're not going to talk about. Right? The latest and greatest, $19.95 a month to get seller leads. When I was at a real estate conference, you ever been in like an Inman, a real estate conference, and they have the vendor rows, right? And it's like being at like a jewelry exchange. It's like a Shark Tank. You're just walking down the aisle trying to get somewhere. Hey, you over here, let me tell you about $19.95 a month and you're going to get great quality seller leads. Okay. There is so much money right now in this industry. And do you know where that money's coming from? Selling to you and me. These tech companies are making insane money. Remax bought a technology company. They spent $40 million on it. 40, not 4 million, 4D million. What do you think their incentive is to sell to realtors? Very high. So one thing we're going to talk about is we're not going to talk about how to spend $19.95. Who here sees their cell phone ring with certain phone numbers and you just hit ignore because you know it's someone trying to sell you something? Right? And I have agents ask me all the time, hey, Carl, what do you think about this? They say they can generate me this many leads. BS. You want listing leads, you got to put in the work. And that's the truth. And if you came today thinking I was going to tell you the latest and greatest $19.95 a month to get those listings, I'm sorry. You might as well leave now because I am not a believer in it. This business, at the end of the day, no matter what, takes hard work. And a lot of agents get in this business and they don't realize that. And that's why there's such a high turnover rate in this business. Resting on your resume to get listings, right? I'm Circle of Excellence Magenta, you should list with me. Right? The seller doesn't even know what Circle of Excellence is. The only people who know what Circle of Excellence is are the realtors. Right? Your resume will help you because it's going to help with your confidence and it's going to help validate you. But if you think you could just rest on your resume and let the phone ring because of it, there's going to be somebody who's going to be coming up behind you to try to take your spot. And I've seen it, and I've coached agents who have taken those spots from other realtors who rested on their resume. So the dictionary is the only place that success comes before hard work. Vince Lombardi. This is the truest quote out there. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story. I know some of you are like, oh, here we go again. Right? It was about 2006. I was working for the governor in Pennsylvania. I hated every single minute of it. Did you ever have a job where you left it and your first thought was, oh my God, I got to go back tomorrow? I was in that job. I called my parents. I said, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm moving home. Complete silence on the other end of the phone. I said, Mom, Dad, no, seriously, I'm moving home. They're like, oh, come on. Why? You've been out so long. They're like, your bedroom's not even your bedroom anymore. I was like, listen, Dad, I'll sleep on the couch. Like, cut me some slack. I was like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to get into real estate. I am 25 years old, 26, whatever I was. I said, I have no responsibility. You know, I have nothing. Only thing I have is a car payment, my Nissan Altima for $200 a month. I said, this is the worst financial advice ever. I got a credit card, 0% interest. I said, I'm going to live off this credit card for the next year. Listen, I still want to go to my shore house and I still want to go out with my friends. So I'm going to put everything on that credit card and let them give me the cash, right? Susie Orman or whoever is probably rolling her eyes hearing that right now. But you know what? I committed to 12 months. I said, I'm going to commit to 12 months of working hard, busting my butt, and if I can't make it after the end of those 12 months, I'm going to go out and get a real job. Because guys, is this a real job? No. I said, I'm going to get a real job. And I went to work from 9 to 5. And all I did was prospect. I used this funny thing. You guys might remember, some of you. It was like a box with a cord with 9 numbers on it and a pound and a star sign, you know, the phone. And it wasn't a cell phone. And I used that phone for 8 hours a day. I started in April 2006. I didn't get my first listing until August. And then I didn't have my first close until February. And then that calendar year, I did $15 million in production. I was able to pay off the credit card. I was able to move off my parents' couch, which was the best part for me and my parents. And I was able to go on. But what I did was I didn't want to be successful in this business. I committed to being successful in this business. So 7 years later, I got this bright idea. I said, you know what? I'm kind of getting bored selling real estate. I'm gonna go, I don't know, get a real estate brokerage. Right? I faced a lot of tough times with the real estate brokerage in the beginning. I said, oh, this is gonna be easy. It was one of the hardest challenges I did, but I committed to doing it. And I used a lot of the tactics that I did as a real estate agent as being a broker owner, right? Some ways of communication have changed. The phone is not what it used to be. There's so many more ways to screen the phone. You know, I always like to say too, Facebook Messenger is sort of becoming the new pigeon of today to carry messages across and get in front of the eyeballs of people. But what I want to do is I want to go a little bit into what I did to generate listing leads. Because I knew from day one, I could not be a buyer's agent. Because it was not fair to me, and more importantly, it was not fair to those poor buyers who I was showing houses to. When they would ask me what the countertop material is, and I would say kitchen countertop. Right? So here are some books that I think really help your mindset in wanting to build a large listing inventory. The 10X by Grant Cardone, right? Because what happened was, I remember when I got that first listing, guys, and I'm wired like this, so not everyone is, but it's the truth. I got that first listing, I'm like, all right, this is cool. How do I get 10? I was already like, most people are like, oh, I got my first listing, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I got my first listing, everyone's coming to congratulate me. Yeah, but I'm like, yeah, but I don't have 10 like you. Like, how do I get 10? I can't live on one. So I got the first listing, then I got to 10. I was like, oh, I finally got to 10. I'm like, all right, how do I scale this to 25? Then I got to 25 listings. I said, great, how do I scale this to 75? People are like, you can't scale it to 75. And I was doing a lot of REO. Guess what? I scaled it to 75. And I said, great, now I have 75 properties in my inventory. How do I scale this to 200? Which I did. All by using the same type of tactics, all by getting systems, getting help, and everything else. But that all goes into the 10X mentality, right? Even as a broker, I was like, how do I scale? I'm always thinking, how do I scale? Because I enjoy it, right? Some people like to walk in the park. I like to scale. This book is all about scaling because to me, it's fun. The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan S. Kennedy. Who here has ever heard of Craig Proctor? He's actually a real estate coach that sold real estate. But who's here heard of Craig Proctor? Right? Craig Proctor was the big into, you sell your home guaranteed, right? Or we'll buy it. That was Craig Proctor's shtick that we see around. He learned from Dan Kennedy, who's known as the godfather of infocommercial TVs. As cheesy as that sounds. Right? But infocommercial TVs obviously work because they're still on. People remember what they read and what they hear. You have to have good copyright in your ads. How many people use social media as a form of their lead generation? What you're writing in your post and how you're targeting it is very, very important. Copyright is extremely important. Like I said, people remember what you say and what you hear, what they read. So and I read this book about once a year. I've given this to a bunch of agents. I always keep copies in my desk. But if you really, really want to nail your mailers or anything else, you need to read this book, and you need to read it more than once, and you need to take a lot of notes. From Good to Great. Has anyone ever read this book by Jim Collins? I recommend this one a lot. This is, if you want to scale, Good to Great is about how to scale. Right? I always tell the one scenario from the book. Who here remembers Eckert's pharmacies with the ugly blue signs? Who here has seen Eckert lately? Right? Who here has ever heard of Walgreens? Do you guys still see Walgreens around? I'm going to change how you drive around and look at things after I tell this story. Eckert's business model is we're going to buy every single mom and pop pharmacy that makes money, and we're going to put an Eckert sign on it. And that's going to be our business strategy. Eckert became a good company. Walgreens says is we're not just going to do that, is we are going to have real estate that's on corner properties that you have entrances and exits on both sides, that you can make a right-hand turn. And then we could buy pharmacy companies and move them to our location, but our business is that we're gonna be put on the corners. Now when you drive by, you're gonna see Walgreens, be like, oh, Carl was right, look at that, it is on a corner. Walgreens, that's why you go there. And that's why Walgreens is a great company, and Eckerd was a good company. That's why Eckerd's not in business anymore. Let me ask a question. Who in this room can make a really good cheeseburger? And listen, I've been like dieting, so I love hearing about it. But who here can make a really good cheeseburger? You can make a really good cheeseburger. Is your cheeseburger better than McDonald's? Will you sell as many cheeseburgers as McDonald's? No. Never. No. And no offense to your cheeseburger, I'm sure it's amazing. But what McDonald's has done is they've scaled a business to an unprecedented level without even having the best product. And they've stood up past the times. So it's all about is when you look at your real estate career, do you want to have a good real estate career or do you want to have a great real estate career? Who here gets worried about the market, if it's going to go up and it's going to go down and everything else? Raise your hand if you ever worry about the market. Guys, whoever didn't raise your hand, I'm sorry, you're lying, because like every realtor is always asking me like, oh, Carl, what do you think of the market, right? Do you know what's going to make you recession-proof, whether it's a good market, bad market, whatever market? What one skill is going to propel you in any market? Listing, not over, right? Bad market, listings sit a long time, if you remember 2008. But what's the one skill you need to be recession-proof, market-proof? Guys, prospecting. If you are a strong prospector, you will survive any market. And when I talk about prospecting, I don't mean just burning and turning the phones. We're going to get into other prospecting techniques, but it's prospecting. Because if you're a good prospector, you will survive the worst markets and you will survive the best markets. What I love hearing from agents too, it's like, oh God, Carl, there's no inventory. It's so tough. There was a couple months ago where inventory looked like it was loosening up a little bit. Agents were coming to me like, oh, 2008 is coming. Inventory's loosening up. I'm like, you were here 2 weeks ago saying there was no inventory. Now there's a little bit more inventory and it's doomsday. If you can prospect consistently and strong, it doesn't matter if it's a good market, a bad market. People always ask me, right? It's like you go to like a party or something, like, oh, your real estate, how's the market? It's always good. I never say it's bad. I never say it's good. Because you know why? In a bad market, it weeds out a lot of those agents I talked about in the beginning that you might have lost to listen to the mother's brother's son's uncle's cousin's friend. In a bad market, they're not in the business. Where it allows the solid agents who are committed, like I said in the beginning, do you want it or are you committed to it, to really be able to grow and have some of their best years? I've talked to agents like I have some agents like, I am just waiting for the market to go down a little bit because this is insane. Who here is working with buyers? And every house you go, oh, like, oh, this house has been on the market 15 days. We should be good. You call the listing agent. We have 17 offers. Like, oh, all right. This is not a normal market. Who's been in the business for less than 5 years? It's not a normal market. The last 5 years is not normal, right? So there's a lot of opportunity. Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you get this book and if you're not hooked within the first 30 pages, I don't know what to tell you. This book is all about making commitments and being committed. I always say, I never get attached to a result. I get attached to a process. And your prospecting has to be that way. You can't get attached to whether or not one day you're calling for sale by owners and you get cursed at 13 times. You're like, oh, this doesn't work, right? You have to get committed to the process of how you are prospecting to get more business. And when you do that, that is when your business changes. Right? What do they say? The harder you work, the luckier you get. But it's all about creating the habits and routines that set your business up for success. And I think this has actually been one of my greatest strengths, is that I will get into routines and stay consistent and not let things take me off the path. And it's tough in this business. Who here is like, I'm prospecting today and the buyer calls and I want to see 13 properties, and you take everything you were doing and throw it away because you're going to go show those 13 properties. You don't have to be embarrassed. I've done it. Right? But when you really commit to a schedule and you commit to habits, that's when your business is really going to change. Being busy doesn't always mean real work. The object of all work is production and accomplishment. Seeming to do is not doing. Thomas Edison. Pretty funny, we're in Edison, New Jersey. Anyway, so what does that really mean is, who here was like, man, I was busy all day, and then you sit down, you go turn on Netflix, and you're like, but you know what, I really didn't get anything done. Does that happen to anybody else or just me? Very easy in this business to let other people's emergencies get in the way of your day. Being busy in this business does not mean that you've done things to help grow your business. I'm going to go back to spring market. You get 10 properties, 5 properties, whatever the properties are, the amount is under contract, and you're so focused on getting those properties closed that you did really nothing to move the needle in your business once those properties close. And some of you might think I sound a little harsh, but I hope some of you were thinking like, yeah, because you know why? I've been there. When I changed my mentality to a prospect every day mentality is when I see the biggest leaps in my business. Because we're not in the real estate business. How many people do we actually walk in the house and sell them on the house? Most people walk in that house and they get that feeling. We can't instill that feeling in somebody. But we are in the lead generation business. There are some realtors out there that you've probably dealt with who do a lot of business, and you're just thinking, I don't know how they get so much business. They're a terrible realtor. Has anyone ever come across an agent like that? I hear a couple laugh, so I think a lot of people have come across that. But you know what they probably do pretty well? Lead generation. And then there's some realtors who are the best agents. Man, every I is dotted, every T is crossed. They know the real estate book from front and back, but they can't get a client if their life depended on it. What I like to say too is specialize in something and dig deep in that. Who here has seen the agent whose email signature and they specialize in everything? I'm your luxury specialist who's also REO certified, who's also a senior specialist, who's also a GRI. So you do a little bit of everything? I know if someone's thinking if they see an email signature, thinking, oh man, has my email signature like that? I was an REO short sale guy. Guys, it is not, REOs is not sexy. Have you ever seen the show $1 Million REOs? Right? How many agents says, oh, I don't even want to deal with short sales. The banks take so long. You might not close. I'm like a shark, just like, feed me short sales. I'll take them. You don't want them? I'll take them when I was an agent. But you know what? I knew what my niche was. And I knew I was really good at prospecting that niche. And I knew I could build a business around the lifestyle I wanted with that business. Why did I like short sales? How many broker opens do you think I did with short sales? How many open houses do you think I did with short sales? I had this system so down with short sales where I knew how to generate the lead, run it in and out of the appointment. I had it down to 45 minutes, hand over that file, and move on to the next deal. There was a year as an agent, I closed 45 short sales. I was loving it. I think this is perfect. How many times did I have to fight commission on short sales? Never once did I get, well, they offered down the street, right? How many times when I needed a price reduction did I get fought on it? Not much. But guys, this was and I know some of you are thinking like, oh, I would hate doing that many short sales. And that's fine, but what do you really enjoy doing? What is your real niche? Who gets paid more? The specialized heart surgeon or the general doctor at the walk-in? Right, can you go to you don't go to the specialized doctor when you don't feel good, when you have a cold. So it's all about specializing in something and really owning it. Olivier, if you guys don't know, my partner in Cranford, he built a niche with investors. And he didn't shy away from it. He learned how to do it and he doubled down on it. This is harsh reality. Not everybody in this room is wired to carry 10 or more listings. That's just the truth. Who here has had 10 listings at a time before? It's not easy. Having 10 listings at a time is not easy. Who's here has ever had the listing? You get excited, there's the first showing. They go show the property. The seller calls you irate because they get home and the half bathroom light was on. Or the back door was unlocked. Listen, I'm just in the process of selling my parents' house, right? You want to talk about a nightmare, no compensation deal. My parents call me, oh, they did the home inspection. The door between the garage and the living room was locked. I'm like, unlock it. Like, get over it. Right? And because they're my parents, they can really get and rip on me. There's no boundary there. Right? We were dealing an issue with with an oil tank that they had, back in the 80s, they got rid of oil tanks, they filled them with sand and put them in the ground, now everyone makes you pull it anyway, right? We're dealing with an issue with that. My dad was irate. All right, can you shut this part off real quick? I don't want my dad to see this. No, I'm just kidding. Right? But my dad was irate about this, making my life, and I was home sick, my daughter was sick, and my dad is just at my house, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get you sick on purpose if you don't leave. Sellers can be difficult. And then imagine that times 10. I just did a video on this. Some of the best listings you're going to take in this business are listings you don't take. I tell a story. I took a listing. It was a referral from another agent. And I really botched this whole relationship up with this agent and everything else. I walked in the listing. I knew these countertops. They were pink. He said, what do you think your house is worth? She said $600,000. Did you ever have that when someone said 6 and you got to say 4? She was a nice lady. She really was. But she was very, very, very focused on what she wanted. So what happens? We list the property, $475. I said, listen, we're not getting much activity. I think the price needs to be around $420, $425. Oh, no, okay. I had just gotten married. I said, listen, I'm going to go away. I'm going on my honeymoon. When I get back, let's talk about reducing at Labor Day. I knew it wasn't going to sell when I was away for a couple weeks. She's like, okay, no problem. Sitting there in Hawaii on my birthday to make it better. I get a phone call from the office. Carl, this lady's here. Like, what do you mean she's here at the office? She wants a release. I'm like, I had this whole conversation, right? I always say when you don't meet expectations is when you have the issues. I was like, I did the expectations. Like I told her what we were going to do. I'm like, release her. But I was like, this isn't worth it. And what did I do was I should have walked away from the listing. I knew in my heart of hearts I should have walked away. I remember closing the front door, standing on the front porch. I turned around, I looked at the house. I said, I just committed myself to 6 months of this. And I knew it. And what did I do is I ruined the relationship with the referral partner because of it, because she complained to him that I was crap. And I should have just walked away. So not everybody's wired to take 10 listings. I know agents who have built massive businesses around working with buyers because they think sellers are just whiners. And buyers are typically more happy during the process, right? Oh, let's go look at houses. It's Sunday. It's beautiful. I don't want to watch the Giants or Yankee game. This is great. Oh, we should go look at another 10. It's such a nice day out. Come on. Caveat to that is in this market, it's a little bit more tough with multiple offers and everything where buyers can turn on a dime, or when you get to inspections, right? But sellers can be difficult. And if you can't handle it, it's all right. Learn to build your way around. I always say is learn what you really like to do and build your business around that so you can do it at the highest level you want in the least amount of time. Because when you're able to do that, that's when this business gets fun. Who here sometimes feel like they don't really have more time to do more business in this business? I've been there. Eric, what's the stat? You know the stat. On how many hours it takes to work with a seller compared to a buyer? You answered this before.
The seller is 10 hours?
Yes.
40 hours.
According to NAR. Did everyone hear that? On average, you work with a buyer for 10 hours. On average, you work with a seller 10 hours. On average, you work with a buyer 40 hours. A week. I heard someone say a week.
I do a little more than that.
Right? So, question. What's the best part about being a listing agent? It's the leverage. You could be at a ball game and someone could be selling your property. Listings equal leverage. Right? So let's look at the breakdown. Buyer. A buyer could be worth $9,000. How did I get that? 3% commission times a $300,000 house. It's a $9,000 commission. Right? Seller. Who here has ever had the spider web listing? Where you take the listing and it just creates you it's like a big spider web was thrown out and you capture about 6 more deals off that one listing. Right? I always use the example of an agent in our office. He called, he got the for sale by owner. He did an open house. He got another buyer from the open house who didn't buy that house, ended up listing their house, sold them their house, double-ended I'm losing myself on this one, right? But it turned into like 5 or 6 deals because he was able to get the buyer on a cross sale, get the cross sales listing, and sell the condo and find the buyer for that condo and then list their house. You're not going to do that on a one buy-side transaction, but you're going to have those listings, that spider web, and look at the difference in the income, right? It could be 4 transactions. You get the closed listing, you find the buyer, you double end the deal, you pick up another buyer from an open house, you're their agent, and you can pick up another cross sale. In this market, are open houses working for buyers? Right, they are. 6, 7 years ago, I'd be like, don't worry about doing open houses, blah, blah, blah. In this market, if you have a really good price listing and you have an open house, it's not a matter of whether or not you're gonna have people at your open house. It's a matter of how many people you're gonna get at the open house and how long you're gonna have to be there after that 4 o'clock. Right, I've been hearing stories from agents who are saying they have a line out the door of people waiting to get in the house because it's priced right and inventory so low. So listings give you a lot of leverage where you can turn maybe 1 deal into 4 or 5 deals. So if you want to but the truth is if you really want to be a listing agent and not list your parents' house, you got to be really consistent at it, at the lead gen. So the time, how much time should you spend prospecting? There's no set time. 15 minutes a day, a half hour a day, 1 hour a day. You're better off doing 1 hour a day than 5 hours 1 day a week. I always say small hinges swing big doors. Most people's business and production it's usually very tiny adjustments that have the biggest impact. Those small micro things you change can make the biggest difference. Everybody's always out there. What's the newest lead generation? What's the newest this? What's the newest that? Guys, half the time too, it's getting better at converting the leads that you already get. Right? There was 5 billion transactions done. That was the same number there was 10 years ago. But the number of leads that have been generated have been 10x'd from what it was 10 years ago. So the better you get at converting your leads, is the better off you're going to be. It's not always needing more leads. All right, so we're going to talk about the first technique here. Expire listings. I think I saw about 5 people just roll their eyes. I'm going to preface this that doesn't also just have to be burning and turning phones. But expire listings still work. What typically happens with a person when their listing expires? Do they typically have a good experience with their agent? They typically have a bad experience with their agent. Right. Do you want to be the first agent or do you want to be the second agent? Yeah. So expired listings are good, but you know what's the problem with expired listings right now?
Everybody's calling.
Not just everybody's calling them. Are there more expired listings or are there less expired listings? Because what's happening is, who here has seen a house go on the market up? Look at that price. Never. 3 days later, it's an attorney review. And then you're like, it's never going to appraise. Wait to it. And then 30 days later, you see it closed at the list price. You're like, what the heck? And the reason I say that is, years ago, that would be pretty good. You'd be like, this is going to be an expired listing. In this market, you don't know. But to Rosario's point too is, you also have more competition calling expired listings. If I was calling expired listings and I was going to call today, I would not call the properties that expired today, as I would be calling the properties that expired back in September and October. Why would I be calling September, October expired?
Maybe there were more active. It's a list.
You guys are overthinking this. How many times do you hear people say, we're going to wait till after the holidays? Our house expired, we're going to wait till after the holidays. We'll wait for the spring market. I don't know about you guys, it's starting to feel like the spring out there now. Right? So I would go back to those people that expired before the holidays and I'd be reaching out to them. And we're going to go into some programs and stuff on how to do that. You can find 15 minutes a day, you can really change your prospecting. 15 minutes a day, you can dial the phone at least 10 times, regardless of the day you choose, and you can reach 20% of the prospects. This is what I'm going to tell you. If you really want to do expired phone calls, when do you think you should do them? During what time of day? At night? Guys, calling expireds is a morning sport. It is a consistent, but I'm going to say this, calling them at night is better than not calling them at all. But calling expireds typically should be done in the morning because of the competition. So a little bit about, everyone goes, I don't know what to say, Carl, right? Hi, is this Bob? Biggest thing to do is pause. Hi, Bob. My name is Carl with RE/MAX First Realty. All right. I specialize with owners whose home have expired. Let me ask you, are you still accepting offers on your house? So one of the biggest things you could do in your sales technique and your vocabulary is that I'm naturally a fast talker, right? It's like the Italian in me. I'm like, ba, 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 ba. But when I'm calling on the phone, I slow my voice down to a very slow pace, and I pause a lot. Because not everybody wants somebody who's going to talk very fast with high energy. The pause is the most uncomfortable part of a phone call. And I'll sit there and be weird with you as long as you want. What do most agents do? Hi, is this Bob? It's Carl with RE/MAX First. Just want to see, are you still accepting offers on your house? No? Okay, wait, great. Wait, my dialer's already calling somebody else. I'll talk to you later, Bob. Everybody, when you're calling on the phone, like I'm doing right now, is you need to learn how to control the tempo of your voice, your pitch of your voice, and the pausing. Hi, is this Bob? Yes. Hey, Bob, it's Carl with Remax First Realty. I work with a lot of people whose house expired like yours. I saw it just expire. I'm sure you're aware of that. Let me ask you, are you still accepting offers on your house? Great. Great, Bob. Okay, well, let me just ask you before we go into too much details. I know, Bob, I know you've gotten a lot of phone calls today. I greatly understand that, but I really just, Bob, where are you looking to go? You know, if we were able to bring you a buyer with an acceptable price, like, are you still willing to sell? You have to do, there's 1,000,001 different expired scripts out there. You have to find the script that works for you. If you did accept an offer, where would you be moving? What is the biggest reason I loved asking, what did you believe is the reason your home did not sell? Why do I ask this question? Look, I'm still talking in my cold calling voice. Alina? Yeah. Well, they didn't do any marketing. Once I listed the house, I never heard from the agent again. So what you do is when they start complaining is you can give them empathy on the phone to build the relationship. Bob, I'm sorry to hear that you had such an experience like that. I would love just to meet with you and show you what we do differently so you don't have that same experience. Does that sound fair? But it's all about changing your tonality. It's all about trying to mirror the other person. It's all about taking pauses and slow down. When you can do that on the phone, that's when you can master calling expireds. But most people are calling expireds. They just want to turn around and tell me they did it. I made 35 phone calls today. Did you get any appointments? Nope. Question, yeah. Yeah. I typically don't because I like to circle back around. And what I like to do is I like to get a different phone number to circle back around with. There are services out there, Google Voice, Better Voice, CallRail, CallFire, Spoof Call, where you could get a different phone number. So I like to call once with one phone number and then switch up the phone number to see if I can get them later. No. I don't leave messages because I like to call again. Some people leave messages. I'm not a big fan of it just because I like to put that back in and circle back around. Or what I'll do is if I'm having a tough time doing it is I'll use a program called Slide Broadcast and I'll do a voicemail drop. And I'll leave, so if I want to do voicemails is I'll do one big voicemail drop instead of individual. Yeah. But the fact that you're doing it is the biggest difference, right? That already puts you ahead of the 90% of the people that aren't doing it. And it's funny, like in our market, I could tell everybody who's gonna, right? If someone says I'm calling expires, I'm like, well, if you want to list an appointment, this is who you're gonna be up against because they're calling consistently. Your goal too is not to get the listing on the phone call. Your one goal is to get the appointment. Too many people go right for the kill. Right for the, because listen, expireds is more of a juggernaut. You're going in. Like it's not, you're going right for the throat. You're going right in for that appointment. There's no fluff. There's no real relationship building. Because you're just going right for the throat you want to get in. Listen, I know that sounds, I don't know how else to put it. Expireds is you just want to go for that appointment. That's your main goal of calling expireds. So what about this? Oh, Carl, I don't like calling. That's fine. What I would do then if I wasn't calling is I would create some type of postcard, some type of mailer that I could send to expireds. Or what I would do is I'd even go back to 6 months, pull the data, 6 months ago, pull the data, thinking of selling, find out why your home will sell this time, something of that nature, and I would mail it to them. Because if you're not going to call, you got to mail. And people have a lot of success with the mailers to expireds. But I wouldn't go right for the new ones. I'd go back about 6 months. Any questions about that? And what we're going to do too is at the end, we're going to give you a chance to register and get free scripts and stuff emailed to you. So don't worry about taking all the pictures and everything. So I'm going to give you guys some expired resources. When I got into this business in 2006, there's no such thing as dialers, which are the best. I would sit there and just dial the phone numbers, right? And it got very lethargic and very slow. There's dialers out there. Mojo has a dialer, RedX, Vulcan 7, sales dialers. What this allows you to do is it will dial for you, and you can dial at a much faster speed, so once it disconnects, another one's kicking in and dialing. So you're able to make a lot more calls in a shorter amount of time. Right? How do I get phone numbers? RedX is a very good source to get the phone numbers. LandVoice, Vulcan 7, Cole Realty. So what they're doing is they're pulling numbers from public records. So sometimes you might make an expired call and it's really like it's not the owner, it might be like their brother's cell phone. That's a fun phone call, right? But there's ways to get around that too. But these are different resources that you could get to do expireds. The other resource is the MLS. Go back in, pull the data from 6 months ago, set up a mail campaign around those old expireds. For sale by owners. In this market, are there more for sale by owners or less for sale by owners? More. There's more for sale by owners because there's so much information out there between Zillow, Redfin, and all these other resources that people think they could just do it on their own. I saw a really good Zillow article the other day. I don't know if you guys saw this. Spencer, the old CEO of Zillow, did anyone see he listed his house in California? He listed it for $7 million more than his estimate. The owner of ForSaleByOwner.com sold his house in Seattle. Do you think he for sale by owner or do you think he sold with a realtor? Sold with a realtor. If you are a real estate broker and think your agents are in the office too much, just put a for sale by owner sign on the front door. Your agents will never come into the office again. Mike Ferry. I grew up around the real estate family. We had the station wagon with the brown panels on the side, right? And I would just remember sitting in the back seat, this was, man, I feel like I'm dating no seatbelt on. Someone would slam on the brakes. I go flying, like, write that number down. I'm like, oh, okay. Right? Who here has been that person driving the car and you slam the brakes because you see the for sale by owner sign? It was funny. I had a for sale by owner around the corner from where I live. My wife's like, oh, did you see the for sale by owner? I'm like, yeah. What do you want me to prospect it? I'm like, what? Right? Because people see that. But for sale by owners is, I think right now, the warmest territory for an agent to be in. This is what happens. My neighbor puts up the for sale by owner sign. What happens? 15 realtors come barging in that person's house. No, you shouldn't try this on your own. You should be listing with me because I'm a realtor and I won an award. Because I'm a top producer, right? What is that for sale by owner's mindset at that point? I don't need a realtor. Why? This is why, and who's doing this? Who's prospected a for sale by owner? And the for sale by owner says this, and this is why I didn't list with a realtor. You're all the same. It's happened to me. Because what's happening is the for sale by owner's excitement level is at like a 99.9%. Oh, this is great. I'm going to sell it on my own. This is going to be so easy. Ba, ba, ba. And this is when all the realtors are going after them. Then what happens is 2 weeks later, where do you think that for sale by owner's excitement level is? Down. What happens in week 4? Down. Week 6. Please help me. Please. So most agents are here when they're 99%. Not enough of the agents are here when the excitement's worn off. So there's some things you could do. And I always say, I said with expires, you got to be a little bit more aggressive. You're kind of going, it's like going for the throat. You're going right in. For sale by owners is a little bit more of a massage because you want to approach the for sale by owner when they're 99% excited, but you don't want to go for the close when they're 99% excited. You want to be a consultant at 99.9. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Fizbo, I do a lot of work in this area. I love to see houses get top dollar because I love this neighborhood. Here's some information about what to do when you list your house that I think could be helpful. I wish you the best of luck. Because what's happening is, what are the other agents saying? You don't know what you're doing. You got to list with me. I'm this, I'm that. I'm the top producer on Tuesdays between 5 and 7 o'clock at night. My brand is this. People are all doing that. But if you go in and say, listen, I'm just trying to help because I have a vested interest in this neighborhood. Here you go. Here's some free information. I hope this helps. If you need anything, call me. Or do you mind if I check in with you just to see how the sales go and maybe I could give you some more help? You have to be much more of a consultant. Right? You can offer to help as a buyer's agent. I do a lot of work in this neighborhood. I have a list of buyers that might be interested. Can I bring some through? Right? Here's a seller's disclosure. We have in our office for sale by owner package. It's all about how to market your house without a realtor, but it really just all tries to convince them why they really do need a realtor. Right? You could give them a list of mortgage reps, and everyone goes, well, why do I give them a list of mortgage reps? How important is it to get a strong, qualified buyer in the house? Right? You could say, as my experience as a realtor, I've seen a lot of pre-approvals that weren't even worth the piece of paper it was written on. Here's 3 mortgage advisors that I work with that if they pull the credit, you can feel more confident. Vendor list. How many people need handymans during inspection issues and everything like that? Right? How many times do you feel like you took a list and all you did was become the GC for them? Yeah, Dad, I'm talking about you. Right? So this is all stuff that you can get there for the for sale by owner. But again, it's being there as a consultant. Week 1, you could go to the door, get the relationship, get face-to-face. I'm a big fan of getting face-to-face. Why is that? They'll remember you. You get to build a little bit of a relationship. If you guys just heard me speaking over an intercom during this presentation, it would be a lot different than if you got to see me, got to see my body language, than if I was just sitting on a speaker or going through the PA system. Personal connection. It's huge, right? Because on the phone, you're just somebody else. It's a lot tougher to be meaner face-to-face. Right? There's some people are like that, but it's a lot tougher for people to be face-to-face than over the phone. Week 2, you can hand deliver a for sale by owner package. You can hand deliver a CMA. Here are some recent sales that I thought you might help. If you use Central Jersey MLS, it might take you 3 weeks to figure out how to run the CMA. That's why it's week 3. You can hand deliver a vendor list. Week 5, you can start doing calls because again, now you're taking these 4 weeks where you're really building that relationship. You contact weekly by phone, check in, right? And you can integrate some of the phone and pop visits and switch them out to whatever fits your schedule. But what I say about this is I've had someone who said, oh, I tried your for sale by owner method, Carl. It didn't work. So, well, tell me about the experience. It was one person. I said, well, somebody else might have just been further down the line than you are. We have an agent in our office who she listened to this and she went out, and we now call her the Fizbo Queen because she's just out there consistently doing this, working the for sale by owners because she enjoys this niche. It's made a huge difference in her production. So this is what I was kind of talking about. 50% of your competition is going to drop out week 1 when that person's at 99%. 75% of your competition is going to quit after week 2. 90% is going to quit after week 3. You will have no competition if you go down a month with that for sale by owner. And I know it sounds like a long time, but let me ask you a question. Who here, if I said, hey, I'll give you a listing, but it'll be in 5 weeks, would want that listing? Right? Let me ask you a question. Who plans on being in this business in 6 months? Who plans on being in this business in a year? Right? What you're going to do today is going to determine your pipeline later. If you're still around week 8th, forget about it. You're there. So here are some for sale by owner resources. Zillow. People list the house for Zillows. And do you guys know about the change that's coming up in April for landlords with Zillow? It's going to be $10 a week for landlords to put their property on Zillow, but it's free for realtors still when it goes through the feed in MLS. So if I'm a landlord and I want to list my property and you put it on for 3 months, I mean, what's that, $120 for them? So just something to be aware about, because this is good even when we talk to sellers, because how many times have you talked to a seller who goes, I'm thinking about maybe renting the property. And then you go down the line with the seller about what it takes to be a landlord and if they're prepared for it. Again, LandVoice, RedX, Vulcan 7, these are all things that you can use for resources for sale by owner phone numbers. Guys, if you can't find for sale by owners, we need to have a serious talk. When people ask me, how do you get for sale by owners phone numbers? They put them on the yard sign. They give you the phone number. You guys laugh, but I've had plenty of people ask me, hey, Carl, how do I get for sale by owners phone numbers? I say, well, give me your car keys. And then I give them back. And I say, get in your car and go drive and find a for sale by owner sign and write the phone number down. Like I used to have to do in our Chrysler station wagon with the brown panels. Like it was Wally World. For sale by owners they give you the phone number. Craigslist. There's still people that will list their homes on Craigslist. What else you can do on Craigslist is you can find the investor who's sick and tired of being a landlord, who wants to sell their house. Who here has ever worked with a person who thought about renting and they end up buying? Right? Well, you could work with a landlord who's thinking about renting who ends up selling. Same scenario. ForSaleByOwner.com. These are all techniques where to get for sale by owners phone numbers. Ooh, where are we going? Any questions about FSBOs? Has anyone heard a technique yet that they don't really do that they think they might try? Well, I'm glad I'm being that impactful. Farming and direct mail. Who thinks farming here is dead? And direct mail. It is more alive now than it's ever been. This is why. Think about all the marketing that's going on to catch people's eyes on the internet, between social media, email, drip campaigns, all the electronic mail. Do you guys get more mail now or less mail? Really? I feel like I get less mail. Right? Because more people are moving to electronic. I feel like I get a lot less catalogs because now I get their email drip campaigns. Right? In my opinion, there's less mail. I think it's easier to get the eyeballs of people in mailing now. We still, as a company, part of our strategy, we still mail physically. So not only am I saying this, we're actually doing it. So to me, it's not theory. So the direct mail still works. It's all about your messaging. This is why I go back that you must read the Ultimate Sales Letter book before you do any type of mailing. If an agent comes to me and says, I want to do mailers, I said, I'm not having this conversation until you read that book. Who here has the mail drawer? Anybody? Where you get the mail and like, oh, I could deal with this later, and you put it in a drawer. And then like once a month, you're like, oh, let me pull open this drawer. Like, oh, I should have not put that in the drawer. I have the mail drawer. My goal is, if I'm doing any type of mailing, is I do not want to end up in the mail drawer. When I was prospecting short sales, One of the tactics we did was we got the information about who was behind on the mortgage, and we did mailings. We did a mailer where it looked like a handwritten note. 3 years after I mailed the letter, I got a phone call from a seller in Hillsborough. It says, I've just been saving your letter. I was like, what? I'm like, huh? Because she called me, she goes, I got your mailer about doing a short sale. I'm thinking in my head, I haven't done a mailer in 3.5 years. She goes, the letter spoke to me so much, I knew I would need it one day, and I kept it. Why? People remember what they hear and what they read. And she felt the letter was so impactful that she kept it for 3 years. So it's not dead, but it does not work if you don't commit to it. You can't mail once and say it doesn't work. So, picking a farm. When you pick a farm you got to really look at how many houses are in that farm. And what you want to do is you want to see how many houses are in that farm, but more importantly is you want to know what the turnaround rate is. Does anybody know how you figure out the turnaround rate? The turnover rate? Anyone? You take how many houses there are, you divide it by how many are sold. If not less than 6% of houses have sold, do not farm that area. Because I like people go, well, if I'm going to farm like ultra luxury. I'm like, that's fine. If you want, you could just give me the money and we'll call it a day and I'll save you the time. Right? If the turnover rate is 1%, you're going to probably get beat out by a referral or a personal sphere of influence. What makes some really good farming areas? Townhouse communities. Houses that are great, that are very desirable with first-time home buyers. Because what happens is, how many times have you heard someone say, oh, I could live in this house forever, and they have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and like, get me out of this house. I need something bigger. The walls are caving in. Right? And if I was also going to do mailing, I would look, what's the average turnaround time that people buy and sell? 7 to 10 years. So what I might do too is you could go in the tax record and see who's been living in that house for 6 years in a high turnover rate community. And you can mail right to the people who fit that criteria of that have been in their house from 6 to 10 years. Because you know what? If you're mailing to someone who bought a house 3 months ago, what do you think the chances are that they're going to want to relist? So you could even break it down further and target based on tax records, Remine, all these programs that pull crazy data, and target those sellers so you could get a better bang for your buck. I mean, mailing, if you do EDDM, I mean, it's down to what, for 17 cents a piece you can get it out? But it's just doing it again consistently. So we're going to talk a little bit about your messaging. One thing I think that should not be in the messages, and I've gotten the mailers. So I've had this conversation with my wife so much that she actually saves the real estate mailers that we get to our house, so we critique them. Real wild Friday night at my house, right? If I see another mailer with somebody where all it is their resume and accolades, come on. How does that help me as the seller? When you're mailing, your objective of your mailing is to let somebody know what it's like to work with you before they work with you. There's got to be something there that sparks their interest. Me going around saying I'm the #1 agent of my office and it's an office of 2 people, or on your mailer, it's not about that. That's not going to entice the person to sell. It's about the message. So I always say, don't brag about yourself. Don't say you were the circle of excellence, whatever. You want to deliver in your messaging how you can help them. You can use mailers to direct back to a website. Who here drives the Jersey Turnpike and there's no phone number on the ad? What is it doing? We all know what I'm talking about. Is there a phone number on the billboard? It's a website. To capture the information on the website. And if you go to that website, it's all about how to sell your house. You could do the same thing with your postcard. directed back to a website. You got to mail every month. I was having this conversation with an agent the other day, and they were talking about, well, I don't know if I'm going to mail. It's a little bit of an investment. So we broke down the cost of the investment and what the potential return could be. It fit all that criteria. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, I got to get that mailer together, don't I? Yeah, you do. With the right message. Right? How do you stand out from your competition when mailing? I got a mailer the other day and it said, I am the key to your new home. The what? You're the key to my new home? I mean, it's like it was a slogan. But as a seller, how does that help me? How does that differentiate yourself? But what would stand out to me is if I got a mailer that said, I just sold your neighbor's house for 104% of asking price in 7 days. What's going to stand out to me more? That with a little bit of statistics, or you being the key to my home? I don't even know what that means. And it was an agent that mailed my house once, so I've never seen him again. So they either know that I started talking about it in my presentations and they took me off their list, or they got no return and they weren't consistent with it. Show how you specialize in an area and get involved. I mean, we work with an agent where she just dominates one town and she's just mailing about community events, everything about the town. Why? Because she shows herself as the authority in the town. And it doesn't always have to be call to action on top of a call to action on top of a call to action. Right? But she's just known as the agent in the town because she's consistent with the mailings and she's in front of everybody and she's extremely involved. Could be a community garage sale, could be community events, everything like that. So what makes you unique? Take a second, just think about it. What makes you unique? What makes you better than other agents? Why should I hire you over somebody else? Once you really can get that down and get that across in your messaging, that's when you're going to get a better response off your direct mail. Saying you're the key to somebody's new house is not going to get the response. And then what you want to do is you want to track the mailer. So let me ask you a question. You do a mailer. Who puts their regular cell phone number on the mailer? Okay. Anyone else do mailers? Just put their cell phone number? How many calls do you get a day on your cell phone? When you do a mailer, you want to put a tracking phone number on your mailer, right? What's a tracking number? You could get a Google Voice number. You could use a thing like Better Voice. You want a number that's unique. And listen, this is compliant as long as you put your office number and everything else. But you want to put a tracking phone number on your mailer. So we use a program called Better Voice. So what happens is you call that phone number. Your cell phone will ring the actual phone number that you put on the mailer. And what you do is you save that phone number in your phone as mailer lead. And this is what I used to do on my short sale website. I had a phone number they called my phone would ring short sale lead. I don't care who I was talking to. Do you think I picked up that phone when it rang with that lead name on it? I would jump over a table to get to it if I had to. Right? What's happening is we get so many phone calls. Who here is really bad at picking up phone numbers they don't know or just don't do it? Right? Another thing is you want to get more business, pick up your cell phone more. Who here has missed a phone call because they got too many phone calls and they never got back in touch with that lead and that lead just ghosted them forever? You're like, oh, if I only picked up that phone call, right? So when you use a tracking phone number, you're never going to miss that lead again because you know who's calling you. And you also know how to react to the phone call. How many people have picked up the phone like, hello? They're like, yeah, hi, I'm thinking about you selling your house. Like, oh, hello, yes. And you get that realtor voice. Like, how may I help you today? Thank you for calling. Press 1 for customer service. right? And then your total change of voice. But if you know that phone number is coming in and you know it's a lead, are you going to do the hello? Or are you going to do the hi, how may I help you? It's a beautiful day at ABC Real Estate. Great day to buy a house. Right? There's so many distractions going on right now. That's also a great thing to do. As a buyer's agent, to me, one of the best lead source out there are still sign calls. Right? Why are sign calls so great? It's typically someone who knows they want to be in that neighborhood. It's typically someone who's in front of that house and they have a real interest. So instead of putting your cell phone number on the sign, you can put a tracking phone number on the sign. So when somebody calls it, it will ring sign call. Who here knows if it's a sign call lead coming, the probability of them picking it up is going to be higher? And this stuff is very inexpensive to do. And then what happens is, let's just say you missed a phone call. Most of these services have apps where you can go into the app and still get the phone number. You can do some really cool things too, where if you talk to somebody after, they can send an automated text with a link to your website where they can search properties. But right, this is really taking it up another level where you're, number one, you're able to track your results. I've met with agents and I said, okay, you're spending so much money on this, and this. What's working and what's not? Well, I always ask, no, you don't. You get too busy. You're driving down the turnpike. You get a lead call. You're not asking where they got your information. But if you set up these tracking phone numbers, all the tracking's done for you. And then what happens is whatever's not working, you trim, you get rid of, and then whatever's working, you double down on. And that's how you become more profitable as you're scaling your business. It's by tracking the results. Guys, this should be most agents' number one lead source for listings, is referrals and your sphere of influence. One thing I want to say is this, is whoever got a referral for a listing and you go in there and you're a little lackadaisical on it because it's a referral. And then you don't get the listing. And you're like, well, what happened? It was a referral. I was supposed to get it. One thing I always say is if you're going into a listing appointment with a referral, treat it the same way you would treat a listing appointment if it wasn't a referral. I've seen too many agents lay back on their laurels because it's a referral and they don't get it because they don't have the same mentality as if it was somebody they didn't know. You can be really nice in this business. You could be the nicest person ever. Everyone could love you, and it doesn't mean they'll ever give you a referral. Who here has a hairstylist, a mechanic, somebody they really, really like, and they'll go back and forth? But if somebody asks you if you have a referral, you're like, nah, I don't really know anybody. Right? Because they're nice and you like them, but you don't feel comfortable referring them out because you might not think they're the best. You might think they're a little expensive. They're a little bit of a pain, but they're your pain. Right? Same thing can happen in real estate. You can have a client that loves you but will never refer you because they might not feel that comfortable referring you. You could be really good and never build a referral business. You could be the best realtor. You can know the contract inside and out. You can do everything, but you don't get referrals. Why? Because you're out of sight, out of mind. Who here wakes up every day thinking about how can I get more business? Right? Who thinks their referrals and sphere of influence wakes up every day and goes, man, how can I lose more business today? Man, I just need to get through this day and figure out how to get her more business. Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. Who here has had the greatest transaction with somebody? Oh, we're going to be lifelong friends. They're great. And you never talk to them again. Never. You saw them at a grocery store, you go the other way. Some people are laughing because they probably have had that experience. Out of sight, out of mind. How many people try to get a Zillow review from somebody after the closing? And you're like, oh, I thought they really liked me. They won't give me a Zillow review. But if you asked for the Zillow review during the transaction, you probably would have had a better chance of getting the review. Right? Out of sight, out of mind. Right? When you move, forget about it. People very easily get out of sight, out of mind. So it's also staying in front of your past clients and your sphere without being annoying. Right? One little thing I would say too is Facebook. A lot of people connect with their past clients on social media, right? What I would do if I was an agent, I would set up a friends list that was just my past clients. Facebook has all these algorithms. You feel like they control what you want to see. So I would set up a list with all my past clients. Comment, like, whatever. But what I would do is I would take that relationship online and I would take it offline. So what I mean by that is, let's just say I saw it was one of my clients' kids' birthday coming up, or hey, we're setting up for Johnny's 7th birthday. I would get a happy birthday card for Johnny and I would mail it to that client. Not just comment, hey, happy birthday, Johnny, emoji, 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 emoji. Right? Take online, offline. I always say you should have 12 to 24 touches with your past clients in a year without being annoying. And I always say, purpose. You gotta always call with a purpose if you're calling your past clients. You know, I always use that example. It's like, the worst thing you want to do is call and say, hey, Bob, I'm just checking in. Bob's like, all right, dude, good talking to you. And you're like, the kids. They're like, I don't have any. You're like, all right, great talk. Right? That is much different than calling, hey, Bob, it's Carl. Just want to let you know, I'm not sure if you're even aware. Rates are at a historic low. Just want to let you know in case you're thinking of refinancing, I hope all is well. Oh no, I appreciate it. Sometimes a simple little conversation like that will then roll into something more. How many times has someone here talked to a past client and then you suddenly all get a referral from them? Oh, I was thinking, blah, blah, blah. Like one thing we do, and Olivier stressed this, and I always stress this too, in the beginning of the year, if you haven't done it yet, you still have time. Do you know what the easiest call is to your past clients from last year that you they bought a house through you? Taxes. You need to bring who here has bought a house, gone to your account, and they go, hey, where's your closing statement? You're like, I don't know, I need my closing statement. Think about your buyers and sellers. Easiest thing to do is call them right now. Like, hey, Bob, listen, April 15th is coming up. I want to make sure you're bringing your closing disclosure to the accountant. Do you have it? If not, I can email it to you, and I can also mail a physical copy to you. Does that sound good? Such a simple phone call. Do you know how many of your clients are going to be like, I didn't know I needed that. Oh man, Carl, thank you. Oh, I don't know where it is. Great, I'll email it to you and I'll also mail it to you. And write a handwritten note. Right? It's these small little things that are going to make a big difference. And another thing I want to say too is, who here, I've heard people say, oh, well, most of my referrals or most of my sales were buyers. How's that going to help me get listings? What? Your clients aren't out there thinking, oh no, they only work with buyers. They don't work with, the public doesn't think like that. Us as realtors think like that, but just because you sold somebody as a buyer's agent doesn't mean they're not going to give you somebody as a seller referral. So it's very important to stay in front of. How do you generate your referrals, right? You should have your referrals down automated so much that it's almost like a manual that you can hand off to somebody else as you're scaling your business to make sure that it's done. How many of you can say that you know exactly how you're going to follow up with your past clients for the rest of this year? Truly know how you're going to follow up. 1? All right. 2? How many people is a majority of their business past clients referrals? Most agents, their past clients and referrals are their number one lead source, and they do zilch for it. I sat down with an agent when he first joined my office. He did 60 deals. We sat down and broke down the deals. 20 were from calling expireds, 20 deals were calling, were Zillow leads, and the last 20 were past clients and referrals. I said, so you spend all this time on for sale by owner, on expireds. Yep. You spend all this money on Zillow. Yep. You got the same amount of business from your sphere, your referrals, and what was your plan? Pick up the phone when they call. What if you take some of the time you're using on expireds? What if you use some of the money you're using in your Zillow spend and merge them together and focus on this 20%? He's like, well, I don't know how to re-engage a lot of these old clients. I said, listen, let's just do a client appreciation party. What you can do is you can do like he did a happy hour. I said, listen, it's very easy to call your past clients and offer them something. Hey, come, we're gonna do a client appreciation party. We're gonna have drinks, we're gonna have food, whatever else. He was able to re-engage, and I always remember this. He said, Carl, I got one call left to make, and I don't think I'm gonna call him. I said, well, why not? He's like, it was not a good experience. I don't think the guy likes me. I'm like, so he doesn't like you, right? So if you call, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? He's not gonna like you. What do you gotta lose? All right. And this agent, he's very, like, if I tell him to do it, if I said run through the wall, he will. So he does it, he calls it. The client shows up, he got a listing referral from that person that he didn't wanna call. I said, sometimes you think you might have had a bad relationship with somebody during a transaction, but they might not feel the same way. Sometimes they might feel that way. Especially with the internet. Some people get very vocal behind their keyboard on reviews, right? But he didn't really know it was that. It was he had a perceived notion, right? So it's a great way to get back in front of your past clients if you haven't done anything in a while. I always just say, run your past client like you're gonna franchise it, right? This is the most people's lead generation source, and it's also the biggest thing they ignore. So, successful real estate businesses. This here is, right? You have acquaintances, you have your network, and you have a client. 83% of real estate stats are made up. But one thing that's true is you don't need 1,000 people to refer you. When I ask people, how many people do you have in your database? Oh, I have 3,000. Oh yeah? You have 3,000 people that you know? Well, no, they inquired about a property 5 years ago, but they're on my email list. I'm like, oh yeah, great source. They're gonna give you a ton of business. Truth is, you only need about 25 or 30 people who are really strong advocates who refer you business. Don't concentrate on the 3,000 person list. Don't concentrate on the person who inquired about your listing, who you've never spoken to. You want to concentrate on your referrals or those people that you know who will stand on top of a mountain and say, you need to use Carl. Listen, I have one of those. I got to tell him to relax a little bit sometimes because I don't actively sell real estate anymore, and he sends me these people, but you gotta have those people and you gotta take care of them. Does that make sense? Don't focus on the huge number of the database. That's not really your database. Your database of really good people are the ones who know you, like you, trust you, and refer you. Concentrate on those people. One other thing I like to do. When somebody sends you a referral, get attached to a process. Don't get attached to the result. And what I mean by that is I heard people like, oh, well, if it closes, I'll send them a thank you card or something. I'm like, what? Like, that's not even nice. If somebody sends you a referral, the first thing you should do, in my book, is a handwritten note, a little gift card, like a $5 Starbucks gift card, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever it might be. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Coffee on me, and send it to them in the mail. It's acknowledging a person. It's showing gratitude for them thinking of you. Don't be in the mindset of like, I'm only going to thank them or send them something if it closes and I get paid. Because what happens is this, how long does a real estate transaction take? I don't want to hear anything like a normal real estate transaction. 6 weeks, right? Call it 90 days. You start showing them houses by the time it closes. What other referrals could that person have sent you if you really acknowledge them for sending you that referral? They might have thought, oh man, I didn't even hear from them really or anything, maybe they didn't need it. You don't ever want your clients to think you're too busy for them to send you referrals too. That's why house business, you can't like, oh, I'm so busy, I got all these buyers, They're driving me, I got these sellers, they're driving me nuts. Because you say that to somebody is, do you think they're going to think twice before they send you a referral? You won't get any. Right? How's everything going? Great. How's the market? Outstanding. You send me a referral. I like to call, thank you so much for thinking of me. It means a lot to me. And then you follow it up with a card. That's how you build people into your A referral. Like anyone here who follows Buffini says you separate them in A, B's, and C's. I agree with some of that. But man, you want to make people your advocates, who are going to scream out loud and be your fan. You got to go that extra step and show them that appreciation and show them that gratitude. It's also being nice. Imagine that. But you could do a closed Facebook group. We could get all your referrals in there. When I was at a client appreciation party, I knew it was really going at a high level because what happened was I saw people at the client appreciation party giving each other referrals in their businesses at the client appreciation party. One guy's like, I'm looking for a contractor. We're going to redo our kitchen. I'll come by, give you a free estimate. This is literally what I was hearing at the client appreciation party. Right, we talked about this. Every time you receive a referral, send a thank you card. Client parties, October's a great time to do them. Before the holidays. And summer's really tough too because everyone goes on vacation in summer. So, implement your system and stick to it. Consistent mailouts, 12 touches. Occasion cards, 3 touches. Thinking of you cards, calls, 8 touches. 12 to 30 touches, 23 to 30 touches a year. That's doing it at the highest level. And when you're going to talk to people, you don't always have to end your conversation. This drives me crazy. So when I hear, oh, and by the way, if you're thinking of anyone buying or selling real estate, I hope you think of me. Every time. Like a robot. If you're thinking of any, people know you're in real estate. It's staying in front of them. There is a time to ask them if they have any referrals, but it's not every time. So be consistent, which is really the theme for today. Technique 5, your online and social media technique. Pay-per-click ads, SEO, and YouTube. Who sees this up here? Have you ever done a Google search and on the top it says ad? Does everybody know how they get up there? They pay for it. Right? There are a ton of companies out there that give out referrals, hand out business based on generating leads off their Google. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out there and do the whole state of New Jersey, but if you're really zeroed in on one town, if somebody searches in that town about an agent or real estate, I want to make sure I pop up. When I was doing short sales and I did 45 in a year, I generated a ton of leads through pay-per-click ads. I was spending about $500 a month on the ads, and there was months where I took 9 to 10 short sale listings. I used to think that was a pretty good return on $500. Right? So if you Googled about short sales, and what happened was I knew the process of a short sale. A lot of people would speak to the bank, and the bank would say, you need to find yourself a short sale specialist. So when people would hang up the phone, where do you think they went next? They went to Google and typed in short sale specialist. And my mug popped up about 4 different times. Right? It's just knowing how the consumer thinks and being there for that. So pay-per-click, SEO, do video. On YouTube, YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the country. Right? You're able to tag it with towns, and you're able to get up into the first page. I'm going to be frank with you, SEO, I wouldn't even bother with it anymore. Between Zillow and all these other companies, unless you get really targeted in an area, you're going to spend a fortune and not get really great results. But pay-per-click ads is a way to get there right away for sellers. So, becoming an expert in your area. What you want to do is you want to be the go-to person in an area. You want to be the magnet. Who here likes when people call them and you don't have to call out? Who likes the inbound leads? Right? Building a magnet to attract sellers using video. If anyone follows me on social media, I do a lot of video. A lot of people hesitate to do video because I don't like how I sound, I don't like how I look. Well, that's how you look and sound in real life, so get over it. Right? I wish I had hair. And I think it would be pretty funny if one day I did a video and I had hair. Right? Get over it. But what it does is video gives you a certain leg up. It lets you try to build rapport with people before you know them. And the video can also make you an expert. It can validate you because people could hear what you're saying, people could see your body language and everything else. So you could do a non-branded real estate page. Sayreville Realtor, the East Brunswick real estate experts, whatever it might be, right? We're talking about going hyper local. We're not talking about spreading a huge net here. We're talking about going very, 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 not wide, but very narrow, right? The Monroe specialist, whatever. And if it was me, what I would do is I would do these videos. I would do it live from the fairs. I'd spend $200 and get a microphone like this called Rode mic. I would do these videos about hyper-local content that makes me an expert. And then what I would do is I would create value in these videos. And then through Facebook is I would target people in that town and launch my videos into that area. I know I'm probably speaking gibberish to a lot of people, but I'm going to show you ways you can get that done. And what I would not do is call to actions. Just value-based material. Send it out. Just launch it, right? You can spend so little and reach the people in that town. What is like the #1 age group selling houses right now? Is it millennials? What? Millennials are the biggest buying group. Who's the biggest selling group? My parents are boomers. My mom's on Facebook. What's one of the biggest demographics on Facebook right now? Boomers. You're just going to where the people are with this strategy. Right? You know what's great about video these days? You don't need to have a professional setup. You don't need to have somebody following you around all the time. You can do it right with your cell phone. You can be at East Brunswick Day, talking about East Brunswick Day, what great it is and how great it is in this town, and your Central Jersey real estate expert page can be pushing that content out for a very minimal cost. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to always be selling on your video. Do you know why? People are sick and tired of being sold. Who here has walked in the car dealership thinking you're buying a car and you run away because the salesperson's on top of you about buying the car? Yeah, we don't want to be that realtor. Like, oh, by the way, if you're not thinking of selling. And please, and the biggest thing with video is, do you know how many seconds you have to get somebody's attention while doing video? 3 seconds. That is the attention span people have. So do you know what you don't want to do on your video? Hey, Facebook! Hey, Bob, I see you're on the live. Hey! Why? You just lost them. Hey, it's Carl Sanfilippo, CDP, GRI, Broker Associate. Hey, go Balloon. The top 5 reasons that you will love living in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Hi, this is Carl. You hit him with a hook and then an introduction. Guys, the video is where everything is moving towards. It's not whether or not video is going to be staying around. It's taken over. It's already started. But people remember what they hear and see. So if you start your video with, "Good morning, Facebook," forget it. Don't even do it. No one's going to watch it. Right? And I know I'm just being real. And I know a lot of people, I was very nervous when I first started doing video. Like, man, am I really that bold? Right? Everyone's got what they think they look in their head, and then they got what they look in person. Right? But it's about changing up. It's about adding value. You can, for such a low cost, just get this in front of people where you can have people reaching out to you based on the value you're providing. What else is that video doing when you're pushing it to the people in the town? It's making you an authority and an expert on real estate in that town. What else I would do too is this, is on the first of every month, let's just say I was the East Brunswick real estate experts. 55 homes sold at 99% of list price in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Hi everyone, it's Carl. I just want to give you a quick market update of what's going on in the town and boost that out. What do sellers want to know when they're thinking about selling? They want to know what other houses are selling for. Vice versa, what do buyers want to see when they're thinking about buying a house? Do they want you to tell them to put their clocks ahead? They want to see houses. Give the people what they want, right? 3 tips that can help increase the equity of your house for little or no money. Hi, it's Carl Sanfilippo with East Brunswick Real Estate Experts. What I want to talk about today is staging and making small changes that can increase the value big. Is that something a person who's interested in selling would be thinking about? And then at the end of it, I don't have to say, and to get more information, visit carlsanfilippo.com and download my free guide. No call to action. I think I covered that. Right? And then what I would do is I would take that video, I would put it on Facebook. I would also have the East Brunswick Real Estate Experts Instagram page, and I would put it on there. And why would I do that? Right? They're owned by the same company. It's funny, you can watch a video on Facebook and then go on Instagram, and there they are again. Right? These algorithms are very complex on how they work. And I would also put it in YouTube for those SEO reasons, for hyper-localness. And then what I would do too is if I did a market update in East Brunswick once a month, I would take my East Brunswick clients or my if I did a Middlesex County update, a Union County update, a Essex County, whatever county you want, every client I had that was in that county would get an email once a month with me about the market update. It'd be a picture of me, and once they clicked on it, it would link back to the video I posted on Facebook. And why would I do that? Because guess who's going to start showing up more again in their feed the next time they go on Facebook? Their favorite realtor. So what am I doing? I'm staying on top of mind. And this stuff is very, very inexpensive and not that hard to set up. But it's all about trying to stay top of mind without really having to stay top of mind, without really having to be annoying about it. And you can run ads, you can boost to the targeted areas, to the age group you want, to that targeted area, so you're getting in front of people who could be potentially thinking about selling their house and become an expert. Right? So what you want to do with this too, so you want to do a video. Newsflash, not everyone's going to want to watch the video. So what you want to do is you want to take the content of the video and then you want to make that your post. So anyone who follows me on Facebook, you'll see I'll do a video, but I have very long content to go with the video. Because if people don't want to watch the video, I want them to be able to read the content. But I don't want to sit there and write it out. So we use programs. Rev.com is one. For $1 a minute, however long your video is, it will transcribe all the content from your video for you. And then we just copy and paste the transcription and we post it in. We throw some emojis in there. What? Rev.com, R-E-V.com. There's another program called Zubtitle, Z-U-B-T-I-T-L-E.com. If anyone wants to use it, just let me know. I can get you 50% off on the free referral code. They will actually transcribe it and they will put the closed captions on the video for you. Because what happens is closed captions is good when you're doing the market update because not everybody has the volume up on their phone. Right? How many people sitting in here just watched a video or something on social media while I was talking with no volume? So these are all ways to get very, very hyper local and make you stand out from other realtors. So let me ask you this. As a listing agent, you get a phone call from somebody off your video and you come into that listing appointment. A couple things you have to do. Do you think you have to really validate how your marketing is different than most realtors? I don't think you have to validate it. I think you've already proven it. You can tell people what you do or you can show them. Do you probably have to validate with that seller that you know technology more than the next realtor? Probably not, if they got you through some type of technology platform. Right? These are all ways to break down the barriers of objections with the seller at the listing appointment. I always say, if you can show them what makes you different, you want to show them, not just tell them. And this goes into a little bit of the training next month, but I love this topic. I got to do it. Who do you think goes into a listing appointment and says, you know, my technology and marketing skills aren't that good? You know, I'm really just a part-time agent that does this once in a while, but you should still list with me. Yeah, you're going to list with me, but you'll probably never hear from me after you list with me. Who do you think, what agent goes in and says that? But what's happening is most agents are going in and saying, I'm really good at technology, really good at social media, I'll give you really good marketing, this, that. You're just saying what everybody else is saying. So what you have to do is you have to show them before you get in there. And video is a great way to do it. So Facebook ads too, seller seminar. There's a lot of people who bought their houses who don't know in 2006, 7, or 8, who don't know if they have equity in their house. Or have never sold their house. A seller seminar is a great way to do it. And people say, well, if I do a seller seminar, what if I only have 3 people come? I'm like, oh, you get 3 people who think about buying or selling their house in front of you. That sounds like a tragedy. So community outreach, scholarships, charity fundraisers, all really great ways, and you can run Facebook ads. Who here wants to or knows how to even deal with setting up Facebook ads? Who here knows or even wants to deal with setting up Google pay-per-click ads? I had a huge return on Google pay-per-click ads. I am the worst at it. If I had to set it up myself, forget about it. But you know what's great about this? Oh, I'm flipping ahead. You know what's great about this world is there's talent all over the place. The guy who set up my Google pay-per-clicks ads lived in London. I would have known if he walked in this room right now. But I found him on a website that actually got bought out by this company. It was called Elance, that got bought out by Upwork. I paid him $150 to set up my Google pay-per-click ads. That's it. Facebook ads I can handle a little bit on my own, but it could get overwhelming to really get it down. But there's talented people. Fiverr.com is a great way to also find talent to help you with things like setting up these type of ads or whatever else. But at the end of the day, if you get anything out of this, is just try it. What's the worst thing that could happen? It could work. God forbid that happened. Right? Freelancer is another website. Fiverr and Upwork is a great place to start. Fiverr is a really good place to start. You can put up an ad of what job you want to get done, and people will bid on it. Right? I have a friend who owns a very large wedding DJ company. The guy who does a lot of his video editing and everything like this, he sourced through one of these sites. So there's talented people all over the world. It's just finding them. And listen, another place to get seller leads through the internet, hate them or love them, this isn't that conversation, is Zillow. There are sellers whose agents did not do a good job staying on top of mind, and they are calling Zillow to find an agent. And again, this is not a Zillow debate, but that is happening every day. So the key is to find, not everybody is going to like doing all 5 of these techniques, right? If you hate cold calling, that's fine, but you got to find a system that's going to work for you to generate the leads. I always say hope and pray is not a good lead strategy, right? It's doing something. So the key is finding what you're doing and doubling down on it. So that's all I got. Appreciate you guys sitting through. If you go to thankyouFromCarl.com, you just put in your email address, you will get an email with scripts and everything that you want to be able to use that you can implement. If there's anything I can help you with or any ideas you want to bounce off of me or anything at all, feel free to reach out. My phone number and email address is up on the slides. I'm pretty easy to find on social media too. So I just want to thank you. And like I said, if you're going to take one thing out of this is, do you really want more listings or are you really going to commit to getting more listings? Because that is 2 different animals. So again, keep an eye out for our next training about the ultimate listing presentation with Olivier. And again, thanks for coming, everybody.